Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Karina Lanta Mentorship. Today is July 25th, 2024, and why are we going to mark this date? Well, it's the day I paid off my mortgage. I called the bank this morning and said, "Hey, pay it off," and they did. So I think about 1 or 2 months from now, I'm going to get a lien release, and yeah, so paid off my mortgage under 3 years. I'll make another video about it, but just wanted to mark that for today flex, maybe humble brag. I don't know. But today we're going to learn about unlocking your maximum cash flow with velocity banking. So I always go through this scenario many, many times, but let's just go through it one more time again. In fact, I gave a presentation in real life about this same situation about 3 hours ago, right? And people were like, dang, like, I want in. So let's review. What is velocity banking? All it is a debt payoff strategy using a line of credit as your main operating account. And to do velocity banking, again, just only two requirements. Number one is your budget. So your budget is essentially your debt attack plan, right? You have your income, you have your expenses, and then you list all of your debts here. And once we pay off your debt, that unlocks your cash flow. We're going to unlock that maximum cash flow. I actually wanted to make a video in the spirit of Dune, and I think there's a line in Dune in like the old movie, but not in the actual book, where it's like the spice must flow. I want to make a video about how the cash must flow. But we're going to do that today. So as you can see right here, we have a person who makes a lot of money and lots of expenses because of debt with a penny of savings, right? Penny of savings. And so what's the difference between average American and velocity banking? Well, the difference is what's your operating account. So this one is their checking account, and they pay things in their checking account, and they're involved in something called segregation of income. So what is segregation of income? It just means your money comes in your checking account and then it gets split all over the place. Credit card one, two, and three, loan one, two, three, mortgage. Maybe you save some of that money, maybe you put in retirement accounts. And how effective is your money going to be if you have it split all over the place? Right? Not that effective. So what we're going to do is just put our money in one place. That's velocity banking, right? With the help of a line of credit. So we're going to assume that we have a huge line of credit available, right? Like a huge, almost like a credit card, but in this case, it's going to be a home equity line of credit. What is a home equity line of credit? All it is almost like a credit card based on the value of your home minus any debt tied to it. So, for example, if I have a $200,000 home and minus a $50,000 mortgage, I got $150,000 of equity. And banks like to lend if you offer that as collateral. And so I'm probably going to get a home equity line of credit soon. Again, I got the mortgage paid off, so I can get a first lien HELOC, and then I could use that as a way to manage my cash flow and do some real estate deals instead of going to hard money lenders, traditional lenders. I might go to a traditional lender if they offer me a really low interest rate. I don't know, but what I'm saying is that we can use our home equity as collateral in the form and get a line of credit, right? And let's just assume that we have a $200,000 line of credit available to us, okay? Let me show you where the average American goes wrong with this, and you can find many Reddit posts. So let's say I'm in this situation and I only got a penny of savings. Uh-oh, you know what? My expenses increased because my car broke down. And this actually happened to me last month. My old Camry broke down, but I still drive it because I don't like computer interface cars and all the bright headlights that make no sense. It seems like nobody does any quality control in cars anymore in manufacturing. So I could have swear for the longest time cars were blinding me on the streets. Doesn't happen to me anymore for some reason, or maybe I just got used to it. I don't know. But but let's just assume our car broke down and we borrow maybe $2,000 from this line of credit. Okay. Well, if the line of credit minimum payment is $50, well, guess what? Okay, now we don't, we have to pay this $50, and now we're in negative savings territory. And banks love it when you're here because overdraft fees are a big money maker for them, right? They made over $5 billion in 2023, and that's a bad year because they used to make a lot more. It's crazy, right? So again, people don't understand that paying off your debt, or an easy way to pay off your debt, is not just relentlessly borrowing money, but we have to focus all of our money in one place, which is what we're not doing here, which is why we're negative, okay? And prevent segregation of income. So now let's just reverse this, and this is going to be B2 minus B3, right? So let's take off the negative 50. All right, so now that's the difference between, we're going to explore the difference between here and here. So we see that even if we had $1,000 emergency, right, we're now in negative territory, okay? But we're going to see how $1,000 emergency doesn't affect us when we're doing velocity banking. So we're going to copy the same income, but we're going to, instead of trying to save money, we're just going to do zero, right? Exact opposite, because we're not going to save any money until all of our debt is paid off. And a lot of people will freak out at that notion because what if there's emergencies? Again, because we're making our line of credit as our main operating account, it's also essentially our new savings account. I'm going to demonstrate that as well. And then, so let's go ahead and copy these. Okay. Copy all these expenses, and then we're going to have something called cash flow, which is income minus our expenses. And then you might say, well, this just looks exactly the same as a savings cash flow, right? But we haven't made the line of credit as our main operating account yet, right? That's the big difference here. Like, what's the difference between average American and velocity banker? Is that you have no savings and your line of credit is the main operating account, whereas here you do have savings, and then savings is whatever left over, and we're not applying all of our income to our debt. Okay, so now let's just do this. Let's go ahead and move these credit cards, 10 credit cards, which is $167,000. Okay, let's go ahead and move that right here, 167000. And by simply moving the credit card debt, okay, we haven't paid it off, we just did debt transfer, right? Simply pay the credit card debt, these goes to zero. All 10 credit cards, right? And so now you literally turned a penny into $5,000. It's almost like Houdini magic, right? We didn't do anything. We didn't make more money. It's just we're making our cash flow, I guess, more efficient, if that's the right word. In fact, it's like a calculus problem. I don't know if any of you taken calculus, but the whole point of that is to find the min and maxes of numbers, and then like you take a derivative, and so we're maximizing our cash flow. I mean, what do you want? Do you want to do things the average American way, where you got a penny of savings, or just take that same situation and turn it to $5,345 of cash flow? Now, the actual strategy itself is we're going to take this entire income, this entire paycheck, and put it into this line of credit. And so that's going to do two things: it's going to satisfy the minimum monthly payment and lower the interest, because the interest is based on the average daily balance. And then we take away the expenses from that line of credit, just pull it out whenever you need it. Or you could just use credit cards. And the reason why I use credit cards is because you can delay the interest, right? Credit cards, you pay the statement balance at the last moment, and you don't have, it's like a 1 month floating period. That's why I love credit cards, just as long as I pay them with full. And then as I'm paying off debt, I just pay off the in full with the line of credit. Okay. So now let's go ahead and do this. I2 plus 1 is the next month, and the next month's balance is G2 plus H2 minus, what's our cash flow right now? 5345.84, right? And then what's our interest? Our interest is the average daily balance. So what we do is we just do this right here, take this average function right here, multiply it by the interest rate, so 0.1 divided by 12. I am hoping that my line of credit interest rate will be lower than this. Right now it's 10%, but hopefully if I get it with the credit union, it'll be around 8.5. I've seen as low as 7, right? And I've gotten introductory rates as low as like 0.99 for like 6 months. So, but typically when it's out of that introductory rate period, it's about like 8 to 10%. And then if you get a really bad interest rate, the max that they can usually charge is about 18 by law. Like that's a law that they have, right? All right, so let's go ahead and calculate the interest, and you see for this $161,000, they charge us $1,300 in interest, and then we have the next month, and as you can see, our entire paycheck and our cash flow is bringing the balance down, right? So let's go ahead and do that, and then copy and paste, and then you can see right here, in about 37 months, oh my goodness, it's paid off. The $167,000 credit card that we're freaking out about, okay, it's paid off. There's only a penny left. Now, I always get this comment complaint like, well, nobody else has, who has a line of credit laying around, right? And of course, nobody has a line of credit laying around except for me because banks don't lend money to people who need it. And I always got credit when I don't need it. I learned it from, um, you know, Renatus. I took their credit classes. There was a business credit instructor who kept like, I remember the first time I heard her talk, and she was like, banks don't lend money to people who need it, and it was so like I don't know, it broke my heart because I was poor. I was like, I don't get that, and then somehow I just kind of brainwashed myself. Banks don't lend money to people who need it, and then you'd learn to get credit. That's why over $270,000, which will eventually be about 400, 500. I'll probably get that HELOC soon because my house is paid off. Again, I'm humble bragging right now, but I probably developed the right. All right, so now let's assume that we had a 2,000 or maybe yeah, $2,000 emergency, right? So let's say we have a $2,000 emergency. How long does it take to pay it off? Same exact months, 37 months, right? And so you can see even on day one, when we have a $2,000 emergency, here we were struggling because that negative $50 payment, minimum payment for that HELOC would put us into struggle bus, right? But here, the $2,000 is no problem. Just as long as I have enough limit in the line of credit. And as you can see here, the more we pay this down, the more we actually have in savings because we can borrow up to this amount, right? We can borrow up to this amount. It's crazy, right? And so let me go ahead and uh, change it to the original number. I think it was like 160. Was it 167? Yeah, 167. Okay. So now what's the milestone? Let's go ahead and write it down. 37 months. 37 months. 167K. All right. And so now we have the mortgage. Okay. So now let's go ahead and pay that off. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people are really like, man, I could just, instead of using a line of credit, I could just put the cash in my bank account directly into the mortgage. Well, okay, that's absolutely true. But who do you know that does that? Absolutely nobody, right? Almost absolutely nobody. Because it takes the average person more than 30 years to pay off a 30-year mortgage because after about 5 to 7 years, they either they sell their home, move into a new one, so they get a new loan, and that 5-year loan or I'm sorry, a 30-year loan turns into a 35 or 37-year loan, right? But again, so they either resell or they refinance. And so they get a letter from the bank, and it's like, hey, you can lower your monthly payment or pull out equity. Why don't you do that too? And have the same monthly payment, but pull out that equity because you deserve it, right? You deserve it. So people are like, huh, that's a good idea. Let me just pull out their equity. And then, now you fall into the bank's trap, right? So if people were smart and they put all their leftover cash directly into their loan, they would pay it off. But they know that they don't do that. The system knows that you're not going to do that, right? Why does the system know that you're not going to do that? Because if they were true, everybody would pay off their 30-year mortgage in 5 to 7 years, right? So how can we overpay but not run into problems with our cash flow? Because that's the main problem, right? Because if we overpay our loans are one-way directions. I put in $5,000 in a loan. Oh my goodness, what happens if I need an emergency? Okay, then people freak out. And so what we can do is we can move some of the principal of the line of credit. So let's just say, I don't know, maybe a small amount like 10K. So this is going to be 290. Oh, not 209. It doesn't have to be that big. So 290, 290K, okay? Move 10K into the line of credit. Again, we do the mortgage last. I'll talk about this in another video about why. But we'll just move $10,000 of the principal to the line of credit. How long does it take to pay off that 10,000? 2 months, right? Because our cash flow is so huge. We learn to maximize our cash flow by paying off credit cards first, and then there's a certain order that we go over. I like to use the cash flow index to figure out which debts to pay off in what order, and then we always pay off. I've never seen an exception to this. The mortgage last, right? We pay it off last. Now, if you take a look here into the loan amortization, okay, loan amortization right here, and if we just plug in the numbers, you can see how long it'll take you to go from 300 to 290. right? So 300 for 30 years at what percentage is it? 6%. How long does it get to take will it take you to go from 300 to 290? This is 1 year, this is 2 years, so we'd say about 2.5 years, right? But we paid that off in, I don't know, 2 months. See how easy that was? 2 months. Something that would take 2.5 years took us 2 months. And that's how we would accelerate paying off the mortgage, yet still having maximum control over our money and preventing that thing that I mentioned at the very beginning of the video called segregation of income. And then we just rinse and repeat over and over again. Now, we have this thing called the velocity banking calculator that lets you simulate the payoff, how much interest you pay, how much money, what happens when you move a certain amount of money to the line of credit. You just plug it in. And again, like I said, I learned it from Renatus. I learned a lot of things from Renatus. And full disclosure, I make money selling their products, or I make commission, right? I'm what they call an independent contracted marketer. So if you're interested in learning not just velocity banking, but understanding credit, learning how to find real estate deals. Again, I got $100,000 discount on a property, and because I paid off my mortgage today, in 2 years I'll pay off that property, right? And then I'll get the next property paid off in 2 years. And so, here's the funny thing. Even if I don't do any more real estate, right? I paid off a mortgage into 3 years. So I could just, work at McDonald's. I'm like, la 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 la. But then here's the other funny thing: working at McDonald's is really hard, and I'm a lazy person, so I'm not going to do that, right? I don't know if that's really funny, but to me it is. All right, so now let's go ahead and put in the loan balance. So what this is the original balance, and what's the current balance after 37 months? Let's take a look at that right now. 37 months. 37 months. All right. So it's 287, right? So let's go ahead and put that number into our velocity banking calculator. Interest rate is 6%, 30 years. And let's go ahead and copy this number, 1798.65. All right. And then let's put our income. So our income is very high, right? So 9644.49. 9644.49. And then our living expenses is just 2,500. 2,500. Okay. So now what's the line of credit interest rate? We'll say 10. And I'm just going to give you two scenarios. So here's the thing. You might have heard on the internet, oh, always replace your mortgage with a line of credit. And I'm going to be honest, if you just move it incrementally into that line of credit, just in little pieces, you'll come out much better. I've never seen an exception to this. Unless for some reason the mortgage interest rate is higher than the line of credit interest rate. That's the only reason that you might think about moving it. But don't just discriminately move a 6% loan, all of it into a line of credit, right? Because the reason why we're doing this is to pay it off quickly and prevent segregation of income, and easy way to not have our money locked up directly into a loan while overpaying it or paying it off early, right? So let me just show you this: 287,894.82. Okay. So what happens when we move this entire thing in line of credit? So you might be thinking, oh my goodness, 4.2 years. That's fantastic. And look, we potentially saved $227,000 of interest. Okay. Okay. Well, what if we just moved in $10,000 chunks? 10, 10, 0, 0. See how that kind of like this number reduces and this number goes down? So again, no need for anybody to really like move their entire mortgage to the line of credit. Just pay it off in pieces and you'll pay it off faster. Okay, they call it chunking or incremental payoff. But in my opinion, a person, if they're gonna get a first lien HELOC, it shouldn't be done to replace a mortgage, because you could just do that chunking method and it'll pay off faster and you'll pay less interest, right? But so let's just take a look right here: 3.8 years to pay that off. So now 37 divided by 12 plus 3.8, 6.8 years, and we're debt free, right? So that's 467K of debt, 300,000 plus 167,000, 467K debt free. That is excellent. Excellent. And then we do whatever we want. Like me, I'm just doing whatever I want, hanging out, chilling. enjoying my I don't know if I want to call it free time, but I'm just doing the same thing. And sometimes, and I knew this would happen in my life where I have my debt paid off or my mortgage paid off, and I'd be like, I'm just relaxed. I just want to chill with you. You ever notice that so many other people are like, quote, ambitious, but they don't get anything done? And I think one of the reasons why they don't get anything done is because they don't see money as a function of serving people, right? Like, it's like, oh, I'm too busy working. But in order for you to make money, somebody actually has to give you a dollar. Just like people, send me, they join the channel. They say stuff like, hey, I want to buy stuff from you. Or just YouTube giving me money. And the reason why YouTube gives me money is because this YouTube, people watch this YouTube channel a lot, and I make about $500 a month as of right now. But I don't know, maybe in like a couple of months it'll be like 600 or 700, depending on the number of videos I crank out. But I honestly think I'm in this position right now just because I want to help other people. Now, sometimes, people mistake my intentions when I say things like don't sell the poor people. Now, I never said don't help poor people. I just said don't sell the poor people, right? But but I don't even know why I'm rambling. Maybe I'm just rambling just because again, the more money you have, the more lazier you get, and so you have the right to ramble, or maybe not. I don't know. All right. Well, that's it for today. So I'll go over that in another video about paying off a mortgage into 3 years, at least in my situation. And again, velocity banking is not an income generation strategy. It is a cash flow management strategy because who's banks don't lend you debt unless you have some money, right? Like they're kind of like the pharmaceutical industry in that they don't want somebody who's really really unhealthy, and they don't want someone who's too healthy, and the banks are like that too. They don't want someone who has no income, and they don't want someone who pays off their debt so quickly that they can't make interest. They just want to make sure that you have some money, but you're kind of bad at managing it. Kind of like big pharma, right? They want to know that you're going to be alive, but you're kind of bad at managing your health. All right, well, that's it, everybody. So let me just go here and see if there's anything we're missing. Nope, that's it for today. Have a great day. It's Thursday, beautiful Thursday, and we will speak next time.